Good morning, everyone. This is Maurice Carter with Breakfast of Champions. I'm so glad that you're able to join us today as we start our series in interviewing coaches and great people who have mentored people a great deal of their life. The Bible tells us that we should mark the perfect man and behold the upright. And when David wrote that scripture, it wasn't talking about someone being perfect. It was really dealing with we need mentors in our life. And when we think about the word mentor, what comes to mind is men touring your life, and that there is a practice. It is important, it's vital that every person should have one champion in their life, a mentor or a leader that they can lean upon and look toward for significance and for successful living. Today I have one of my mentors as we start this series, and want to talk to him about the caveats of mentoring, coaching, because they're very similar, but also what is that breakfast of champion? What makes winners? What causes people to elevate their behavior, but also their skills? Today I have with me Coach Thomas Pace, and Coach had me as a student in the 8th grade nearly 45 years ago. And I'm sure you can't tell that now, but I was an impressionable 14-year-old and really had a great influence in my life. So welcome, Coach Pace. I'm so glad that you could join us with this series, The Breakfast of Champions, and talking about leadership and mentoring. I understand that you've spent practically all of your life, at least your working life, coaching, teaching, and being around many young people in different places in and out of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you come from? Where were you born? A little bit about your family and what impressed you to become a coach, teacher, leader in your profession.
Well, thank you very much, Maurice. Very simply, I was born in Fluvanna County, right in the general store gas station that my grandparents owned, by the local doctor delivery in the back of the store. And my father-in-law said I never knew those people made deliveries. So, I'm a local homegrown flying fluco, born there with my mother and father, who were icons already in Fluvanna County. He was played in professional baseball organization with the old Washington Senators.
So your father played professional ball?
Turned down a full ride to University of Virginia as a running back because he wanted to go play professional baseball and make $600 a month. So that's how he cut his bread early on. And he was a state champion track sprinter, good athlete, good football player, basketball. Coach Browning and him were best friends. Who Coach Browning's the football field. I coached for, replaced him, and we'll talk about that later. So that's how I was brought up in Fluvanna County. Beautiful, beautiful situation where the mother and father who just loves you, protects you, provides for you, loyalty, compassion. It was the best upbringing I could have with a brother and 2 sisters, and we were just good old country folks who just cared about other people and vice versa. And there was not blacks, there was not whites, there were Fluvanna County residents, and we loved one another. And I'm here because partly there's a family in Fluvanica called the Carter family. And between moms and dads and brothers and sisters, I taught them all. But moms and dads, it's been a family experience, and they have been supporting and encouraging to me and inspiration. So it's been God placed me where He wanted me to be at the right time and the right people. God doesn't make mistakes, and He put me there for a reason, and that reason was to try to encourage and lift up other people, especially young teenagers, male and female. And when I was in 7th and 8th grade in Illinois, we left Virginia, went to Illinois for Dad to be an insurance company agent and salesperson. Excellent at it, great motivator, positive mental attitude, PMA, all sorts of uplifting slogans and logos he brought us. The glass is always half full, it's not half empty. That's how I was reared, and it stuck to me. And the thing is, we went to Virginia, went to Illinois, and we found another life. It was, they had stores, and they had sidewalks in the downtown. Fluvanna didn't, but I thought it was great because I lived in the subdivision that had a factory about 5 miles up the road where everybody worked there except for Dad, and everybody else was PSI, was a chemical plant. So every day you had kids to play with and fellowship with and have fun and just being kids. And nobody locked their cars, nobody locked their front door. Everybody's free to come and go. And that was great. That was in the 50s, into the 60s. So that was a wonderful time to grow up. During that time, my first mentor after my father was Coach Byron Bradford. In the 7th and 8th grade, he was track coach, varsity football coach, and teacher. And he was the first one. He was a man who never raised his voice, was calm under fire, but he just attracted a light to me and other young men that this is what I want to do. I know you had a calling to the ministry. I was called to be a teacher and a coach because of the impression and mentorship that Coach Bradford made on me, the experience he had, being an older gentleman and being a youngster. And then that was my first athletic mentorship that I got from his, and that's why I got into coaching and teaching. And you had to teach to be a coach when I came through the system.
So what was that thing, je ne sais quoi, as the French say,
right.
What was that thing where you wanted to pattern yourselves after him? I mean, he's
right.
quiet, self-confident, I'm sure, but what was it? Was it the sport that drew you to him, or was it other characteristics?
A combination. It was his characteristic of competition, perseverance, never quit. But also I was competitive. I played tiddlywinks. I was competitive. We played card games. I wanted to do the best I could and win, and I want to impart that to other children and youngsters and teaching. If I could let them know, they don't care how much you know in coaching until they know how much you care. And that brought it, when the kids believed in you, then they would go through a brick wall for you. Sometimes mom and dad would say something, they couldn't hear it. They didn't know what the parents were saying. But then Coach Pace said it. You did it because he said it. And so that was what drug me into that. I wanted to make Coach Bradford proud. And I wanted to make sure the kids knew I was going to. It was all half full, not half empty. And it was positive. Every one of you have a gift and talent that God has given us. And let's pull it out. I'm going to believe in you. And I'll never give up on you to just give me whatever you got. That lure of just trying to build up and encourage and recruit was a great recruiter. I was telling your sister, track people, you and your brother. I don't care who you were, hey, I'd like for you to try this. I've had basketball players when they played football, play and also get scholarships to college after playing 1 year of football. Just find them, and they know that you want to do the best they can for that coach or that mentor, that teacher. And that's a gift that I was given. I don't deserve or earn, but he gave me, he said, Tap, go and teach these people what you know, and then let them enjoy what life brings them.
Wow, incredible, Coach. That's an incredible story. I guess this series is about mentoring and leadership. How would you define what a positive mentor is define it and how important is it? And maybe talk just a little bit about what could happen when there are people who don't have mentors.
Well, boy, I tell you what, that's packed. That pack is really full, but I think easily, right immediately in my heart, my mind, well, I still have one, is that these people were looking at somebody who's had experience, who's a little bit older. It's like the elders in the church. We're to respect and revere the elders in the church. In mentoring, you want somebody who's going to be, cares about you, is experienced, knowledgeable, who wants to impart what they know into you so you can have a more successful future in whatever endeavor it is, whatever sport it is, whatever subject is in school, whatever position in life that you want to have for a career. And what that does, it makes the kids to feel so good and positive because they want to really do the best they can every time just to please that mentor. And mentors is usually about knowledge and about experience and about lifting them up so maybe they can help somebody else.
Interesting.
You know, and that's where mentorship, you know, to me, is just like discipleship. The biggest difference to me is in mentorship, you're given the knowledge and the ability, but discipleship, it's an impact on a life forever. It's a life-on-life, authentic relationship. And it's about going all in and all out and giving yourself up and surrendering in discipleship. Mentorship is great, it's important, but then that takes another level when you start talking about somebody who can teach you and teach about Jesus and teach about what they offer freely that we can earn. That's grace, that's salvation. What happens then when you got people who I got involved with Fellowship of Christian Athletes at 3 different schools and got introduced to it in college. It's like, wow, I never heard this, I never saw this. It made him so much more approachable to every person, male and female. And I tell you what, it just gives you strength, because all things are possible with Christ who gives us strength. And that's what strengthened me, is to have that foundation that I found out about, that no matter what, he loves you, he's going to be there with you, he'll walk you through all the situations, no matter how hard practices are, hard the sport is to play. There's a coach or a mentor who's got your back, just like we always were going to be covered. And that to me is mentorship / discipleship, and why it's so important to do that and have others to replicate it, which discipleship does and mentorship doesn't always do. You get that replication, because if you can engage with somebody and equip somebody, then empower them and then employ them, you got them. Because it says in Psalms, I think it's Psalms 145, deep calls to deep. For you to really understand people, you have to get rid of beyond the head knowledge and go and relate to the heart of that person. That's when you got it. Dave will doing it right now, and there's so many young men who've told me that years later, at 40, 50, some 60-year-old men I know I taught.
I don't know who he might be.
But
implying
oh, wow. They come up to you and said, Coach Page, with athletics, you saved my life. You saved my outlook. I went to the Marine Corps. I went to the Naval Academy. I went to St. Paul. I went to JMU. I went to Richmond. I went to UVA. I went to Virginia Tech. And I think one time I counted 38 different colleges and university kids have gone to for football and track. And it wasn't because of me. It's because they believed, because I believed in them, and they had the positive attitude and ability to say, hey, I can do anything because he gives me his strength. And that's great. That's
wonderful. There's a question that comes to my mind, and I still would like for you to maybe deal with the issue of what happens, you think, when young people don't have a mentor, or they lack that discipleship. You stated that you went off to college. Why did you decide to return to Fluvanna County? I'm sure you could have taught and coached many places, or you could have stayed in Kentucky
Yeah.
and coached and taught. Why did you return home to your alma mater?
Well, a heart's a tremendous muscle that pulls you to where you want to be. But when I got a call on the phone my senior year in college from Coach Phil Browning, best friend of my father in high school, longtime buddies, called me and said, "Hey, Tap, I got a job. I need a football coach. I need a track coach. You interested?" "Yeah, Coach Browning." Phone hung up. That's it. You never finish a conversation with Coach Browning. When he finished saying, "Wait, it's done." I was given a job, no application, didn't interview, on the phone from Kentucky to come back to Virginia. Well, I didn't have to go look and put out anywhere else. It was a ideal dream to come back home because that's where I was raised, that's where I was mentored, that's where I was loved, and I want to just give that back to the Flying Flukos. And on a side note, Coach Browning and my father played for Savannah High School football, and it was Manchester, outside of Richmond. They were playing football in the 1940s. It's on the radio. And the men of Fluvanna County are flying all around the field, and that's when the moniker stuck. Fluvanna, FLU, County, so the Flying Flukos. When Phil and Buck Pace were playing football, that's where we get it. And many, many people do not know that story at Fluvanna County. That's where it started. So, tell you what, blood runs thicker than water, someone would say. That's my father. So I came back home and I've never had any regrets.
Well, you were fortunate enough where you coached some pretty talented athletes, and you've been blessed to win some state championships, particularly in track, and traveled long and far, even throughout football. I'm interested in knowing, what is that difference, very specifically? What's that difference between that team or a group of young people that have a great experience in a particular sport, and then that sport ends, the season ends, versus that team or that sport where you win a trophy, you win a ring, you are then known as the best. Tell me, what's the difference? What's the anatomy of that champion? What's the anatomy of a winner, other than versus someone or people or a team participating, but people that are unique and they become the best of the best for that particular sport or season? What is it?
Well, first and foremost, it's God ordained, because He put me in a place that had some phenomenal athletes. If I can't recruit and bring in those horses, not those little, Shetland ponies, I had some horses. We've had kids who played pro football, college track, still hold records in college and track events. Naval Academy guy set the record for triple jump in Fluvanna County. It was recruiting. I was a great recruiter. I watched you walk down the hall. That's a hurdler. That's a sprinter. I look at this guy in the weight room. I look at this person who just wouldn't give up. And my favorite kids were those distance runners who just go and go and go. But what it was is they had 100% belief in me that I was going to get them to where I knew they could be, and they believed in what event I put them in there. 16 events in track. But what you got to do is find out that place where I'm going to put Maurice or Marcus, or I'm going to put Michelle, and you're going to go out there and find that place, and they're going to believe it. What I liked is they believed in it. They never dodged away from hard work. They thought what we did at Fluvanna was what everybody did, and we didn't. We pushed them. And as I got older, I probably didn't do as much, and we still were successful, but those kids did everything 98 degrees. Instead on the track, we may go in the cross-country trail with shade and stumps and trees and trails, and worked out just like we were working on a track. They accepted it. rain, cold, made no difference. They came to practice. We might be snowbound on the bus from a track meet and stay over my house at night because none of the parents could get out of the house. So we fed about 7 men 1,000 pancakes and 4 kettles of vegetable soup. And then I couldn't get them away from the rubber army men in the Lincoln Logs, So I said, guys, I love you, but you gotta go home.
You gotta go home, huh?
But it was caring. We had fun. Track practice, football practice, as hard as it is, was fun. If I couldn't have fun and we couldn't laugh and chuckle, I didn't want to be there. My mom had a great sense of humor. God bless her soul. My dad was, right at it hard all the time, but loyalty and presence and backing and support. And we didn't worry about what Maurice did or Kath did. We're all part of it, be it a relay team or individual. There's a guy who never lost a race in 3 years, Peanut Lewis, never lost a race. Nobody could beat him. I had a girl in Goochland that didn't have a track team, and we wind up winning the conference 4 years in a row, and they never had a team after that. This girl never lost a race, and then I took her to an Olympic event, and she was beating a freshman from Texas University in the sprints. So, hey, I had some great talent, but the kids believed in what event I put them in and how we used them, and they all worked together. We laughed, some guy's so tired, you run the football, and someone said, I'm gonna give it to Dave again. Just give me the ball, I'll do it. So it's just, again, they cared about one another. They really did, and it was a team. I had a little moniker, this TNT. It takes no talent to hustle. It takes no talent to get off the ground. It takes no talent to get there and practice on time. It takes no talent to help somebody else out. It takes no talent to always do the best you can in each drill, each lap, every sprint. All it is desire, and do you have that stamina and that determination? I will not give in. I will not give up. I'm going to go all in all. And that's what we had. We used to get off the bus with those royal blue tank tops and a white lightning bolt and white shorts. Why in the world we had white shorts and track, I don't know. But when we got off the bus, most of the teams and people we saw and athletes went and just ducked their head. Happened in football. You witnessed it, hands first. We won't mention another thing in Page County.
Yes.
They never seen black athletes in Page County. And when they got on the field, the guy said, golly gracious, I think it was like 28-0 at halftime. He goes, you guys brought the whole dadgum county. Like, we had 69 kids and they had maybe 25. So they wanted to be a part of a winner. They wanted to be successful. They wanted to appease the mentor, the coach. And by doing that, they brought others along with them. They didn't know it, how many times they encouraged him that you brought that guy. He gave you, but if Maurice can do that, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. Jerome Hill, tremendous track athlete. Who's a part of your sheepfold. And goes on. And just so many athletes, the Creasy's, the Tollivers, the Bruces, the Franklins, the Farahs. Oh my God, I just can't go because we don't have enough tape time for anybody. But those kids, I never worked. I got to coach and teach every day. I never had to work. I got to do that. So that's probably saved me. And I pulled a yearbook out mistakenly about a month ago, and it showed a picture of Coach Pace in a PE class, and it said in the caption, the happy-go-lucky Coach Pace, there he is again. And I took that as a tremendous compliment. So that's because Mom taught me, rejoice in all situations, and give him all the credit, every day give thanks. And I was thankful that I could coach and teach, and they bought in.
What do you think are the challenges in 2023 post-COVID with athletes, with young people in general? Certainly there's been a shift in mental health and abilities and cooperation and teamwork. Whether it's negative or positive, I'm not quite sure. But what do you see as a retired educator and coach as some of the greatest challenges for young people to achieve? Not just in athletics, but in life.
First of all, it has to be fatherlessness. The fathers aren't in the house. And the enemy wants to get in there and wiggle in, and they can separate the family, they can break them. You know, so there's fathers. I've been a surrogate father for many kids, and legally, lawfully, for people that didn't have fathers, that didn't have a family, we took them in. The Lord gave us that ability. We weren't well off financially, but we had a good heart. We just want to give them a good start and a good situation where they can feel they're important, they're worthy. That's the number one. Number two is they didn't have any morals, any ethics, any role models, standards, mentors to stand up and see. So sometimes your mentor, your first mentor is that teacher that you liked in that class, or is that coach who said to me, or that PE teacher. Everybody usually liked the PE teacher. And my favorite kids were the chunky kids who couldn't do as well as others. And I tell you what, I doted on them. I gave them all a lot. And I tell you what.
I wonder, did the children choose you, or did you choose them? What do you think?
Yes.
Yes and yes, maybe?
Yes. I think it goes, right now, it just so happened my son is the new head football coach of Savannah. He got 100 kids out. Charlottesville got 30. I think Monticello had 35 out for all programs, and he had 100. Get to know the man, get to know the lady, get to know that mentor, that person who's successful, that person who's positive, that person who cares about you and what we're going to do, and cares about your life at home and what happens. Somebody always needs somebody to lift them up and encourage them and build them up.
Everyone needs a champion.
Everybody needs that, because they what? God doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't make junk. Everybody's a masterpiece. And I tell you what, you have gifts, you have talents, and I'm going to point you and get you to use those things that God gave you. That was my stirring point, and that was my goal, that everybody matters, and you matter huge, you know, to the Trinity. But you know, I tell you what, you have every ability of anybody else in this building, so don't think that, don't anybody tell you that that's a bunch of bunk, you know, or as I call it, horse hockey.
Right.
We're not going to do that, guys, because we have an innate ability to do as well as anybody else. You believe it, because I already believe it, and you trust me, I got your back, and we're going to get there together. We'll never be alone. You know, if you want to walk it alone, you want to do it on your own, we'll have your back, and that's about teaching, coaching, mentoring, and discipleship. That's all it is. And there's somebody out there, find them. And if you just do one thing, if you can just go sometime, sometimes just shut up and listen to what God's telling you. Sometimes get out of his way. Listen. The greatest gift we have, you should be talking 3/4 of the time, and I listen, then I think about it, about 10 seconds, and then I'll speak or reply. But get comfortable, let them know who you are, let them know they're in a safe place, in a safe heaven, and we'll always keep it confidential, you know, if you want, but it's just something about you and me, male or female. I was there for them, and am blessed that they would want to talk, to have somebody to put their heads on their shoulder. So
you spent over 40 years teaching, educating, caring for young people. You have now time to reflect on that over 40 years. Can you give us that one example, that one time where you really made a difference, you really had a great impact on someone? Or was there a time when you thought, am I really making an impact on young people? Could you just, I'm throwing that question in for extra charge, I'm sure, but have you ever been to that point where you know you really made a difference with this particular individual? And have there been times in your life when you have been a servant leader and it's like, I don't know if it's been worth it or not?
Right. First part's easier. I won't mention last names. One of them is Anthony, who got kicked off the sports team, and I recruited him for indoor track, and he went on to be a 5-time state champion and a Naval Academy school record holder in an event in track, and his life just went on, took off. Other thing would be Jay. Jay had muscular dystrophy. And in the old Abrams gym, we had an old universal machine. I would take him over to the lap pools, put it on the lightest cable I could put it on. And he'd sit in his wheelchair where we're playing games in there, and I'd go with him on the lap machine. And he'd pull down and straighten his arms and straighten his shoulders and work with other kids and laugh and be involved. And other kids would come over there in timeouts and work with him. And when he died, his mom read a letter at his funeral, and she had it, found it in his dresser. The only person at Fluvanna High School who ever treated me like a real person and a normal like every other kid was Coach Pace. Wow, that was emotional. So a difference is made. A young man who was as fast an athlete I've ever had anywhere went down to Fork Union Military Academy and did a combine tryout when they used to bring all the big colleges. And he was tying an electronic 4.21. Right now, there's nobody pro football running that fast.
That could run that fast, right?
He could not spell college or football in school, and he did try and got in trouble. One day, he put his hand on his girlfriend, and at lunchtime, here's his girlfriend coming to the coach's office on me and tell me, says, you tell him I'm coming to find him right now and get him out of class, and that will never happen again. He graduated from high school, and as far as I know, that young girl, I won't mention her name, that young girl smiled for the rest of her senior year. Those times I know I did the right thing and made a difference. What hurts is when I said something or did something in an emotional state that marred a youngster. That, I said that, and I told them, and I let them know in track or football or PE class, if I'd said something, I'm wrong, and I'm sorry I'm wrong, but I tell you one thing, I love you, and I tell you what, you'll never hear it again. And I'll never ever be a negative comment or say something that might hurt you inward or outwardly. So those are the things you regret. Did I let somebody down because I didn't give them enough of my time? And they're all worth the effort. So that's what I look back. Not all the state championships, not all the honors and the plaques and the rings. It's the ones who say, thanks not for just teaching us, but thanks for leading us in life. That's one of my most treasured work track things, from football things, and another girls made an artistic sketch with black hair, blue eyes, and whistle. Said, only work that counts is pace work. Those are treasured. Those are treasured. So, like I said, state championships, anybody can win them, especially when you got loaded athletes. But the kids who just are thankful that you cared and you helped them down the road, to who became other coaches and other teachers I've seen in other counties and other mentors and volunteer. I'm hoping that just a smidgen of that rubbed off, and there's a way, and he makes it every day.
Well, we're getting ready to wrap up in just a few moments here. Within about 30 seconds, what can you say to the future mentors out there that we're speaking to, of young people that are being mentored, but hopefully will become someday mentors? In 30 seconds or less, what's your parting words to those mentors who are coming along in the next 10 to 15 years, Coach?
The power of one person is tremendous. The power of prayer is tremendous. That you care about you, this person who's a mentor, or you've been successful, to pass it on for generations. And that's what it is. Discipleship is generational, and they replicate it. And that's why I want you to go out and fish for men, go out and fish for women, go out and get one. They only want you to care and know, teach them what you know, support them what you know, and they'll never be alone because you gave them, you learned how to fish for others.
Wow. Thank you, Coach Pace, for this time. So valuable, and my heart is just glad because you were and are a mentor of mine. And to have this reflection, the reason why I became a teacher and a coach was because of Thomas Pace. Thank you so much for spending the time. For those of you that have heard us today, I hope that you've enjoyed this first segment of Breakfast for Champions. The Bible tells us that the race is not given to the swift, nor is it given to the strong, but it's to those that endure to the end. We hope that this segment has encouraged you to make a difference in someone's life. Thank you for joining us. Our prayer is go with God, and He will go with you.